Hey guys, Cody here at The Active Nerd, and today we're building a PC. Alright, so what we got for parts here today? We're going to be using the MSI X570A Pro because it matches our Ryzen socket, and I wanted something that was going to have a little bit of longevity that I wouldn't have to replace anytime in the near future. And so with that, we're going to match that up with a Ryzen 3. It's a Ryzen 3 3200G, and it's only a second gen processor, but we really don't need anything crazy strong because these things are great at multi-threading, and for just streaming, we don't need to have a Ryzen 5 or a Ryzen 7 or anything that strong. And the main reason for that is because we're going to be pairing that up with a GeForce GTX 1660, and this has an NVIDIA NVENC encoder on it, which is a separate chip on your graphics card itself that you stream from, and if you're not streaming, you're just not utilizing that chip. And the 1660 is the cheapest one that we could find that has those newer NVENC encoders, and so it just works out perfectly for this build. We're of course going to have an SSD. That's what we're going to put our operating system on, and we don't need a high amount of storage because as soon as I'm done downloading the video, I'm going to throw it up on the cloud where I keep my videos stored up anyways, or on an external hard drive, and so I don't need anything actually on the computer itself, so I didn't go with like a big terabyte hard drive or anything like that. We're also going to be using a 850 watt power supply that's 80 plus platinum. Now I know that's a really large amount of overkill, but when I was building this computer recently with all the stuff that's going on in the world, there's a shortage of computer supplies because everyone started to do this work from home and all this different kind of stuff is my assumption. But you do want to get at least an 80 plus gold, in my opinion, because you don't want your power supply, the thing that's powering your entire build, to just like crap out on you. But the 850 is still overkill, so is the platinum. This build right here probably will pull about 300 or so watts, so the 850 is way over the top, but hey, it's what we could find, and it wasn't terribly expensive either. I think this thing cost me only like $100, which is like 20 bucks more than the power supply I was gonna get. So hey, why not take it while we can? For RAM, we're just going to be using 2 sticks, 8 gigs each, so 16 gigs of RAM DDR4 from a build that I had used previously. It was just laying around, and I don't need anything that super intensive. And we're going to put that all inside the Fractal Design Focus G computer case. The reason why I went with this case is because it's white, and I wanted to keep a black and white build as much as I could. The cooling isn't insane. It doesn't have that much, like say for example in the front, there's no like meshing or anything like that that's going on there that I know of. I haven't actually cracked it open, but it looks pretty flat. But we don't need a lot because the temperatures in this aren't going to get crazy high because we're only using it again for streaming, and the gaming will be done on the other PC, so the temperatures are going to go low. And aesthetically, it was the cheapest white one that was available that I could find on the market, so that's what we're going with. So let's go ahead and get this all put together. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to want to do here is open up our case, because we want to get a look and see how much space you actually have to work with. So let's take an E-roll knife, cut it open, and we're going to inspect it. What we're looking for is how much space do we have inside the case, how much space do we have at the back for the wiring, and just get a general view of where everything's going to go. You also want to check and make sure you don't have any damaging or damaged parts on here as well. Alright, so I'm going to take these off. A couple tools that you might need, or what I use. I recommend getting one of these like little tool sets. I think it cost me like 30 or 40 bucks maybe. But it's real nice to have because it comes with a screwdriver set that comes with all the different types of screwdriver heads that you might need for a PC build, as well as it comes with an anti-static wristband too, which we will definitely be using later. Some people think it's not necessary, but you know, better safe than sorry, right? You just spent however much money you spent. No point in seeing it go to waste. Alright. Glass side too. Might be plastic or like an acrylic, but still, clear side. So now we can go ahead and move this around, see what we got to work with here. It's pretty decent. The back spacing right here is actually kind of tight, I'm not gonna lie. And what I didn't realize when buying this case is that the power supply unit is going to go right here, and it's actually exposed. I prefer usually to have one that's covered, So just keep that in mind. If you don't want to show off your power supply, go ahead and just make sure that it has a power supply shroud. Too simple. It's really easy to fix and take care of. These wires right here that we'll use later. These right here, I'll manage the fans that are up here in the front, as it comes with a couple fans pre-installed already right there. And I have an additional couple of fans that I got from an old build. They came with my old case, but I replaced those fans already, so we're going to go ahead and just throw one of these back here probably if we can fit it there. And then maybe up top. Good thing about this case too is that it does have room in the future. I might want to install like an AIO where the radiator will be mounted up top as well. Just put that off to the side for now. Alright, first things first. Go ahead and throw on our wristband. And you just want to basically ground this to any sort of metal. And so for that is what we'll use the case for. Alright, let's check out our motherboard. So what these do is they come in these anti-static bags, so you don't have to worry about them being shorted out. So what you wanted to make sure when you check that is make sure there's no rips or tears in the anti-static bag itself, or in the bag. Get your AIO, a couple of the SATA cables. These are the SATA cables. And then here's a DVD. So the DVD will come with the drivers for this, and you'll put them on to install the drivers. But then what you still want to make sure that you do after you get your computer all set up is go to the website themselves and just check for any updated drivers, because these discs are oftentimes outdated. Cool guy stickers. That's enough of that. First things first, let's go ahead and pop open our CPU that we're going to be throwing in there. Now if you're running this for an actual gaming PC, AMD runs kind of hot, and so you're going to want to make sure that you get a different cooler. But the aftermarket the stock coolers that come with the AMD's processors aren't horrible by any means. They're actually pretty decent. That said, if you're going to do any actual true gaming on it, this will be our cooler. If you're going to do any actual gaming on it, then you're going to want to like maybe look into like an AIO. Whenever you are installing your PC, you're going to look for this, or your CPU, look for this little socket right here. You're going to look that up. And then whenever you grab your CPU itself, do not touch the pins and don't touch the back, because it's your heat dispersion plate. And you don't want any oils getting on there that's going to cause your heat to not be dispersed properly into the cooler, and you don't want to mess with the pins because that's where all the magic happens. So what you do, grab it from the sides. Try to touch just the sides only, and then you'll see a little arrow right here. I'm not sure if you can see that. A little arrow right there. And then what you're going to do is match that up with, there'll be an arrow on the motherboard usually too. Here it's not an arrow, there's a little circle right here on the corner. And so I know that's where I'm going to match that up with. Never push it in, just let it drop. It'll kind of slide in if it's on there correctly. And there you go, it just fell right in place. Then you go ahead and you lower the arm and tuck it back under its little hole. Bam. CPU installed. It's that easy. Next, I'm going to figure out how I want to mount this. So I believe it'll be going in like that. And so I mount it this way if possible. Nope, I think that's long, so it's gonna have to go this way. So I guess we'll probably want it to be like this, so that whenever we read it, it'll be left. That doesn't matter, but for this symbol, we're gonna want that to be left. The other option would be for it to be on the right side, but I think having it here will look neater, and also we don't want that sticking out over our DIMM slots for our RAM. I think what we have to do is these little brackets right here, we're going to have to remove, and that's where the CPU cooler will plug into. Take those two things off, and then I believe these should be able to just go right on in. I'm gonna line it up. Now, actually, usually with some fans, and some people prefer to do it anyways, this right here is the, what do you call it? Can't think of the name, but it's a gel that's going to help disperse the heat from your, let's see if it says it on here, because of my thermal paste. Didn't say it on here, but I remember it. Thermal paste. So the thermal paste basically helps this adhere to the CPU, but not just like in like a glue way. What it does is it helps disperse the heat evenly from the entire CPU onto the heat, what is it? Heat shield. And this one comes with it pre-installed, but if it doesn't, you're gonna want to make sure and buy your own well-known thermal paste yourself. All right, so we got that lined up. Go ahead and, now when you tighten things down on this, you don't want to tighten down all the way, and you want to use a cross pattern, just like if you're installing a new tire, because you want it all the weight, especially on something like this, to be evenly distributed across the entire CPU heat plate itself, because you don't want any of that heat possibly escaping. Seems simple and trivial, but these are the things, these are the little things that matter. And these don't have to be super tight. You just want to get it nice and snug. Alright, there we go. And that is now installed. Our next option now is what we're going to do is we're going to install our RAM. And what you're trying to do is match the channels up. And it's usually channels 2 and channels 4. Some of them have 2 releases, on like a release on each end. These ones look like they have just 1 release. You're going to see these slots right here. Basically, you just want to line the slit in here with the slot on the actual DIMM slot itself. And then it should just fall right in. You're going to have to give it a little bit of a push to firmly seat it, but for the most part, it'll just go right on in. And then, see, fell in. A little push, there and it's snug, and then the clip will snap closed on it. And that's done. The other one in there. Alright, bam, just like that, and the RAM is installed. Super easy, super quick. Alright, next up, the money maker of it all, am I right? So we're going to pop open our graphics card. This is what we got going on here. Got ourselves our GeForce GTX 1660. Nothing crazy and big, but that's fine. What you're going to do is you're going to go inside of one of your PCIe slots. And then your graphics card is going to be the one to go on the one that's a different color. That's usually, like say this one right here, it's in a silver metal shroud. I'm just going to go ahead and put this back inside of here for right now. Then we're going to figure out where these are. And then what you're going to do is you're going to want to put down some mounting points or spacers for the motherboard. And you'll see them, they're going to be really easy. There'll be these little pre-drilled holes right there, and you're just adding some spacers to them. But the spacers are going to be these little screws right here. And they'll have the hole inside of it. Okay, so then what they also have is little letters next to these the slots on the actual motherboard themselves that you'll install them in. They'll have like an A or an M, right? So the A is for your ATX boards and M's are for your mini boards. So you don't need to put them, like we're using a full ATX, so you don't need to have it on a M. Only put it on the slots that have an A. Some of them have both. So go ahead and put on those ones as well. So we're just going to continue getting those on there. And then we're going to go back over here to our toolkit. And we're just going to find the tool that matches, the head that matches. Because these right here are actually like socket heads. Not screw tops, because things are going to be screwed into them shortly. Go around, make sure they're all nice and snug into the case. y'all. Next up, you want to make sure you get this AIO shield put in there. These are very simple to put in, and you're going to feel like you're breaking it, but you're not. You're fine. First, what you want to do is line it up with your motherboard. Kind of get an idea of where all those slots are going to be at on the back. Yep. And then you want to have that right side up inside this AIO slot. Then it's as simple pushing in all the edges until you hear the pops. Like I said, it's going to feel like you're breaking it, but it's not. Yep, nice and snug. Next step here, go ahead and drop your motherboard in. There will be usually a center anchor point, like where you were screwing all those things in before. It'll go through one of these holes, like a little something to hold it in place. And now with this, with the AIO, you're basically going to be pushing it into the AIO too. You want those slots to be going through, and that's going to help you line it up, to help you know you're in the right spot, in the right place. Then come over here and double check that all your stuff is in fact in the right spot and lined up with those holes. And they look good and good. I got my anchor point in right there. And now what you're gonna do is take these other screws that came with your case and go ahead and just screw it in. Alright, so I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of place these screws in there. Then I'll go around and tighten it down. Now this one too, I'm gonna do a semi-cross pattern as well. I'm gonna hit the 4 corners and then I'm just gonna go around in a clockwise motion at that point. And with that, one step closer to finishing. So our next step here is going to be grabbing up our graphics card and figuring out where we're going to line that up. So you can see that this is the slot it's going to go in. So these slots are going to have to be opened up. What you're going to do is unscrew these. You're going to pop those little brackets off just to keep a hold of the screws. You're going to need those. And pop them off. Next up, the graphics card. So we're going to go ahead and do, give ourselves a nice little peel of this protective layer. Always satisfying to get that done. You're going to line it up with these vacuum shields and then just kind of drop it into its PCIe slot, just like you did with the DIMM. It's going to require a little bit of a push, and the clip will lock itself in place. Then you just go ahead and you take those 2 screws that you used, that you took out before, and you're going to go ahead and just anchor this in. Now you're going to want to start with the one that's completely secure, not just the one that's open at the top. That way you can really get this graphics card like in its spot that needs to be in. And your graphics card is installed. Alright, let's get those down there. Hopefully, this fan, I can figure out a way to control the lights on it if there are lights, because I feel like there were lights. You don't want to run it like that. I think that's the way I want to run it. You're going to want to run it in a way that you'll be able to hide your cables. So I think running it like that, the cables on the top and back, that's going to be the best option that we have. Take one of our magnet sheets here, drop our screws on that, get a screwdriver. With fans, you never need all 4 put in there actually. You only just need 2 of them. The fan's secure, it's not going to go anywhere, it's not a freaking turbine. Let's go with the SSD. So we'll get the SSD put in now. Man, SSDs are the simplest looking things that can possibly be. Bam, SSD. And what we're going to try to do, mount it into here, and just screw it from the other side. But we're going to be trying basically just mounting off the two bottom ones. This is going to be a little tricky to hold in place. I'm going to hold it in place with the left hand.
You're not going to be able to see much as I'm doing this, so I apologize for that. Not too much of a pain.
But it's enough to mention it to me. Yeah, it should be secure enough because it doesn't need to be on all four of that, if I'm being honest. We'll try to see if we slide it over a little bit. Create some room for the SATA cable, the data SATA cable. Slide it over to the right as much as possible. That should be enough. Let's kind of figure that. See. So we were squeezing it into there. That's where our hands are going to get it mounted back here. Now what we need to do though is start opening up our power supply, because we're going to need to confirm that it was in fact okay to put that there, because the main thing I'm worried about with that spot is the data SATA cable having to go right here and then still make its way down here to the power supply while not having to bend it in some sort of crazy way that's going to like mess the cable up. Now again, like I stated in the beginning of this video, this power supply is just way too much. But hey, I guess it leaves us room for upgrades in the future, right? It's never a bad thing. It's just I was trying to keep this as a budget build, keep it around $500–600. Turned out it had to be more because the graphics card I wanted wasn't available. The power supplies I wanted, it was hard to find any power supplies. Same thing with the graphics card, really. We got stuck with it going from like a $500–600 build to being closer to $900-something. Not what I would call budget. Alright, so this is actually a modular power supply too, which I recommend getting every time. You want it to be modular because you want to be able to have the adaptability for your power supply. Here's the power supply itself. It's going to come with various attachments. So the various ones it's going to come with and the cords that you're going to need. Some of them you don't need to have all the cords in because you're just not going to use them all. What you will need though is this 16 pin, because this will power your motherboard itself. Obviously the power cord to plug it in, one of the CPU cables, one of these SATA cables, then you have a Molex cable, one GPU cable. And then one thing I forgot to get for this ahead of time, since this is the streaming PC for the dual PC setup that we're building, is I forgot to buy the capture card. Didn't think about it for some reason, and right now like they're all not in stock for like another week before I can even order it. So later on we're going to be throwing a capture card in here. So right now this is basically going to be monitoring my stream via having Mixer pulled up, but not actually be like pushing out the stream so I can get better qualities and all that. I think that's all that I need. So I'm going to throw the rest of this back inside of the case. Now when mounting this fan, you have this the fan, right? Now, if you have a vent at the bottom, you can go ahead and put the fan towards the bottom because it'll just cover there and it'll help get that heat out of there. But if you don't, then you want to make sure it's mounted upwards. And what we're going to want to do is make sure we have all of our cords mounted prior. We need to run this to the back because we're going to have as much of it go to the back as possible. And then we're going to go ahead and start pre-mounting some of these ones on there as well. So this one right here is our GPU. They'll call the VGA. Go ahead and put that in VGA 1. And you're going to want to plug in your CPU. Next, we're going to plug in this SATA cable. Now, I'm going to need a data SATA too, which is what came with the motherboard. So the SATA will run power to the SSD, and the data SATA will run the SSD to the motherboard to actually use as storage. And then we're going to run in this peripherals Molex one. I'm not sure if we're ever going to need this, honestly, but you know, why not, right? And then we're just going to go ahead and feed these through the back of our case. It's better to do this all now because you don't want to plug your power supply in and then have to fumble around with it in tight spaces, because as you can see when I do put this in there, there's not going to be much room back there. Yeah, you see all that room that we got, all that super awesome room that totally doesn't exist. And that is why we do this pre. Now another thing that this came with, your case came with, is that's what these big ones right here I believe are going to be for. Is you're going to need to mount this power supply now, which just mounts to the face. Really straightforward process. Honestly, you don't need all four of these plugged in either. There's really no reason. Where's this power supply going? It's at the bottom of the PC. It doesn't risk falling anywhere, but you do want to have it secured enough that it doesn't start falling backward towards the inside of your PC. and start squishing those cables that are pretty delicate. Well, they're not delicate, but you know, cables are cables, and if anyone has any experience with cables, they're a pain sometimes when they start kinking. And that's enough that it secures it there. And now, what we're going to do is take a look at the back again, kind of see what we got back here for our cables. Everybody's favorite part, cable management. Alright, let's go ahead and get started with, I think, the case. Let's go with some of the bigger plugs themselves, like here. We're going to go CPU plug first. So I'm seeing the CPU plug is right up here. Might be easier instead of trying to like plug them in at the same time, because this is cable is not just an 8, it's 2 4 pins that connect. So it might be easier to just plug each 4 pin in separately. And then we can run this cable right back here. Super clean looking. Super clean looking. That's very important. Next, let's just see if we can figure out a spot for this. What we're looking for are CPU fans. So inside this case, you'll see some little 4-pin connectors all around. And that's kind of basically what we're looking for on this part. So we'll go ahead and plug the CPU fan in right there. That's where it's going to go. Then we'll need to just tuck this cable into the back. Now what we're looking for are some case fan slots. I'm seeing down here system fans, but this cable isn't going to reach the system fan going down that way. So I was really hoping I'd be able to, you know what, I see a pump fan right there, but we don't have a pump up there, so I'm just going to go ahead and piggyback off that pump fan slot. We're going to get the motherboard plugged in next. That'll be the big old corded one. This is going to have to come in to this section here. Alright, twist this around in some sort of way, finagle some things, and plug this bad boy in. Now this one's going to need this other one connected to it. Oh, weird. Okay. Oh, there we go. That's not enough. Can I have it lined up first? Alright, so just line those up, and again, push. You're going to feel your motherboard kind of giving way sometimes. It should be fine to just, you know, kind of push it in, but I like to give it a little bit of a backing, if I can, on the spot that I'm pushing it at, just to really make sure. Some of these cables, you want to make sure you get the little snap. So you don't want to break your motherboard again, because if that breaks at all, then your whole system, everything that you just bought, goes away. It's a little tug. Yep, it's nice and secure in there. Okay, next up, I think we're going to go ahead and try to get some of these system fan stuff done while we still have the space down here. This is probably one of the worst set of cables you're going to be running through. So right here you get your USBs. These are basically your case plugs, which are going to be your USB ports, the fans that came in the front that you're going to want to plug in, etc. But let's go ahead and get this audio one right here plugged in. I think all of these might actually just be coming up from the bottom. So I know this audio one is going over here. So I want to see if I can find a way. Just get it up into this one. Right here like that. But you need to make sure too, it's not just the front that you need to manage, like on how certain things you're seeing look. You need to manage the back as well, because you want things to not be crossing over each other when they don't need to, because it's going to make it harder to put the case plate on the back on, and it's going to make it harder for you to just maneuver cords where they need to go. Now this one right here has an empty slot, and on that empty slot you just line that empty slot up with that, and then you can go ahead and plug it in. This one's a really straightforward plug. Next up, what do we got? This is one of the USBs. Alright, so then what you want to do is you want to find those USBs. You're looking for the best spots on here, because some of them have multiple little spots that you can put them. For example, there might be a few normal USB spots. Like there's one right there, there's one right there. They might both be down here on this one, but sometimes they might have them in different places. And so you're not going to run all the wires to the same spots. So you're just going to want to look for where the best ones are. So we'll go ahead and run both of those down there. This USB 3 plug, this bigger blue one, is actually right below this combination plug. So we're going to want to do the combination one first, because we don't want this USB 3 plug getting in the way when we're trying to do this. Okay, so I see power LED positive, power LED minus. So those will want to be next to each other on the top. Okay. And then we're going to go power switch to the right. HD LEDs are going to go under this. And then I believe that means the reset will go under that. Yep. You want to make sure you have the positives and negatives on the right side of these pins as well. It can be very easily messed up. So just look at the little symbols on the actual cords that you're plugging in. Make sure you go in the right place. And what we'll do is we'll plug it all in over here at the table before we set it up, wherever we're going to set it up at. You always want to do that because you don't want to take it away from the build space to find out that you still have a bunch of crap you got to plug in or rearrange. So next I'm going to go ahead and unwrap these fans. So I'm going to try to like wire them as close as I can to the bottom with them coming out of the bottom portions, because we don't want this much showing. It's already showing a bunch, but I'm not a fan. So we'll try to just push some of that back through the hole. As much of the cable management back this way as we can. There's this one, system fan 1. This one, the bottom fan, we'll put on system fan 2. Alright, those are plugged in. We're going to try to run these wires in and back. Bam! Yep. What is next? Let's go ahead and get our GPU plugged in. Now with this one, it's being a 1660, so it's just going to use the 6 pin. We don't have to worry about any of the other stuff. Now what you want to make sure is, see, so I'm pulling it down, but you don't want to pull it down so much that you're doing that, because now you're applying unnecessary pressure to the graphics card. So you kind of want it to just sit down there. You don't want it to be pulling down, because this thing right here is going to be getting the business over the course of its life anyways, and you don't want to cause it to sag more than it needs to. Next up is so I have the Molex. I'm just going to tuck that away down in there. I'm not going to use that right now. Like I said, I don't think I need this. I kind of just added it on here just in case. However, that said, one thing we do need to do is untangle the SATA cable. And let's get this SATA cable ran up here behind some of these cords so it doesn't fall back. And we need to plug in our SSD. So what I'm thinking is where we mounted it will not work. So what we might try to do, because I do want to try to see if I can keep it in that spot, I'm going to loosen it up, put the cables in first, and then slide it into its spot. Yeah, we can get that back in there. For sure. What we're going to want to do too, actually, is ahead of time, let's go ahead and throw in the data SATA. Now, usually these come with 2 types. And you just use the best one that fits your needs. So you have one with 2 flat ends. Then you'll have another, the flat end and an angled end. Now I oftentimes like to use the angled one because you can just tuck it right back into this and it just runs right back into the back of your PC. So we're going to go with the angled one. Let's go ahead and get this wire tucked in like that so it's flat as can be. And this wire we're going to run down here underneath, and we're going to pick a SATA slot forwards. So this is the data SATA. And I don't think that it matters which one it goes in. I'm seeing a lot of SATA slots on here, but there's a lot of hard drive spaces on here as well. So we're just going to go with the one down here. Okay. I believe that is everything that we need to plug into our PC today. Just double check, spin it around. Yep, next thing we're going to do is we're going to try to hide some of our cables and neaten some shit up now. I'm going to just tuck the extras into this open space down here, if I can. Honestly, some of these cords are just probably not going to go for that. Gotta love cables, man. Gotta love them. It is the coolest thing in the world. Cables. Tons of them. You know, we're just gonna plug it right on back into this rat's nest area. Because it's honestly the best thing we can do. I don't think we'll be able to get this case on in the back otherwise. But actually, you know what we should do is plug this bad boy in first before we start closing up anything. Because we might have to move things around. So we will put this in here. Lights. And let's see what we get. Alright, putting the power on in the back, power button on top. Alright, you see the GPU's fan is spinning, the back fan is spinning, CPU fan is spinning, the 2 front fans over there are also spinning. I saw a light flash, not entirely sure what that means, but the airflow in here seems really good. which is solid. This has a way better airflow than my actual gaming PC does. The motherboard's fan is spinning. Yeah, we got solid power. That's good, that's good. I'm seeing the red lights come on. Not sure exactly what that means, but we'll go ahead and troubleshoot the stuff we need to troubleshoot via the manual once we get things plugged in to the actual monitor and everything. Awesome. Go ahead and shut this back down. Safely. Oh, get back to that super fun cable management. This Molex cable is literally being used for nothing as of now. Get in there, cord. Tuck these other pins in. So we don't have to worry about those. And bam, yep, that's about as we can do with that. Stuff, I think we just throw the back on. Now you want to make sure you don't have anything pressing up against this too much. So like this cable here, if that goes up against it kinda, that'll be fine, I believe. But what we'll do anyways is go ahead and just gonna bundle some of these things up as much as we can naturally, right? So like this will be heavy cord, sit on top of the little not heavy cord. And now that's naturally just gonna stay there. The cord like this, we might want a little bit of an assistance, so try to keep it kind of flat. And we'll just go ahead and zip tie these two together. So what it's gonna try to do is just make sure that it's not bundled up over there behind the motherboard, and instead at least comes over here to this side. Nothing fancy, a little twist tie, and now it'll keep it from getting bunched up on that too much, and it'll be flat if it does go up against it. Now, you'll feel a little bit of force. It's gonna fight you a little bit. You got all those freaking cords in there, right? So you gotta push on it some. Line up your screws with the holes that you need to go into. Dag nabbit. There we go. Alright. Now the back. It's good. Now I just gotta be afraid of touching it ever and leaving any sort of stain. That felt like it's gonna happen super easy. Alright. Now this rat nest down here is gonna be my first upgrade priority as far as just getting some sort of shroud to cover it up so I don't have to see it. But, I mean, you know, whatever. Like I said, we're doing a B-rated job here. Let's go ahead and get this peeled off too. Get it ready to peel off and pull it off and put it on. Ooh. Gotta love that sound. This thing has so much ventilation, it's insane. I'm loving it. This is actually a really, really good case. Very happy with this choice, even though the case that I wanted wasn't there. This was a little bit pricier. And I see why. There's a lot of space in there to work with. Alright. Wait a second. There's another one on the other side. Oh, they got me. Alright, too easy. Just means we get to peel more stuff. Alright, and there we have it. Here's the finished product of the PC that we just built together. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Hopefully you liked the video. If you have any questions about what parts I used, why I did something, why I didn't do another thing, just go ahead and hit me up in the comments below and I'll be sure to answer them back. I might also do another follow-up video or post something on the Instagram about how to post Windows on here, how to get the speed out of your RAM because it doesn't come at the advertised speed. You have to actually unlock it. And if you have any other questions, yeah, just hit me up on the bottom in the comments below. And remember, stay active, stay nerdy, stay classy.